Good afternoon. This is Dr. Charles Foster with Fostering Wellness. We have locations in Brandon, where we've been since 1987, and another location in Rutland, where we've been since 2008, and a third location in Randolph, where we've been for a couple years, and we have a couple of doctors working over there as well. I am wanting to welcome you to our latest webinar. The title of this webinar is called the Winning Advantage, or the Winning Edge. And in it, we're going to talk a little bit about how chiropractic plays a role, or can play a role, in helping an athlete achieve optimal performance. And of course, you can extrapolate that out to any walk of life that you might be in. Certainly, it can help all of us achieve optimal performance. So I'm going to take a moment here and try to bring up my PowerPoint presentation, and we'll get you into that. Let me get myself over there. I'm going to start here, and I was smiling when I opened up this thing today, because it's been kind of glitchy for me, and I want to present. Let's see. Okay. Come here. Screen, share. No. All right. We should be there. All right. So, again, welcome. Sorry for the delay getting that started, but I want you to sit back. We're going to try to go through this pretty fast, and we're going to talk about how chiropractic can benefit people. Now, I want you to know that for a long time, chiropractic care has been kind of the secret weapon of top athletes, and only recently has it been getting a little traction in the media. I can tell you that where I did my internship in Mount Horeb, Wisconsin, Dr. Alex Cox, who was the senior lead doctor there, was the unofficial chiropractor for the Green Bay Packers. And as the unofficial chiropractor, he got that unofficial title because the Green Bay Packer athletes were coming to see him. And when they asked to have him put on staff, the orthopedic surgeons at the time, and this is back in the 60s and 70s, the orthopedic surgeons basically said if they gave recognition to the chiropractor and put him on staff as an official physician, that they would have to find new orthopedic surgeons. And of course, back in the day, and still today, you cannot afford to run an NFL football team without having orthopedic doctors and physical therapists. And so Dr. Cox was in the unique position of being the doctor that they invited to their homes after home games, and they would have parties after these home games. And he said, I didn't have any idea how many people I saw until I cleaned up my wastebasket and saw how many pieces of headrest paper he had used during the course of the afternoon. While they were partying, he was doing some adjusting. And back in those days, he saw Hall of Famer Bart Starr and Hall of Famer Ray Nitschke and some of the legends of those famous Green Bay Packer teams. So anyway, all that to say that for a long time now, famous athletes have been using chiropractor even when it wasn't recognized. And today it's recognized. Chiropractic physicians and medical doctors and orthopedic doctors and physical therapists all work hand in hand for the benefit of the athletes and ultimately the team. So it's such a prevalent thing that Dr. Sean Atkins, who's an exercise physiologist, estimates that 90% of the world-class athletes use chiropractic care on a regular basis. And the whole idea that for them to do this is to prevent injuries and to improve their athletic performance. And a survey recently done of National Football League teams found that 31% of those teams had chiropractors in official capacity. So they've come a long ways away from the time when Dr. Cox was working with the Green Bay Packers, kind of on the dark side, if you will. 77% of the athletic trainers have referred to chiropractors for evaluation or treatment. And these trainers, 100% of them will tell you that players will often use chiropractic without a referral. So another Green Bay Packers story to sort of illustrate the point. I graduated in 1986, and one of my classmates, his name was Dr. Mike Zoli, and he was a big Green Bay Packer fan, and he started his practice up in that area, and he has been for many years the official chiropractor for the Green Bay Packers. And one of his famous patients back in a number of years ago was Reggie White, who's now passed away, but he's a football Hall of Famer. And Reggie White would come to the chiropractic office for treatment. He would bring other members of the team to the office. He would bring his family. And when he retired, he asked Dr. Zoli to find a chiropractor in his where he was going to be retiring in Tennessee. And so Dr. Zoli was able to actually refer Reggie White to another friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours. So it's really kind of a small world to think about how these athletes get connected into the chiropractic community. Now, why would they do this? The idea that chiropractic is basically a science, and it's founded on the idea that the proper nerve supply is critically important to controlling and functioning all of the resources associated with the body. It controls and functions all organs, systems, and tissues. And this central nervous system is sending information from the brain to the muscles, to the glands, to the digestive system, to the immune system, and those systems are sending information back. And these regulatory messages flowing on the very complex nerve system, and this nerve system is in turn being housed in a really interesting and complex neural canal, if you will, a spinal column, and particularly the spinal cord it was in with this spinal canal, and this is very, very important to our health. It has been neglected for literally thousands of years, and in the last 120 years, it's really begun to get we've been beginning to get a sense of importance with regard to the spinal column. Now, the training that an athlete does, the competitions, the scrimmages, often are very fast and can be very traumatic. There's a lot of jarring going on, a lot of bumping. The hips take impact, the feet, the head, the shoulders, the arms, the torso. All of these different parts of the musculoskeletal system are absorbing energy when athletes collide. And these collisions can cause misalignment of the spine. And this misalignment, in turn, can cause something we call a vertebral subluxation. In our image right here on the right-hand side, we see a image representing the subluxation. If you compare it to the normal, you can see that the second vertebra down is somewhat out of position. This is probably an exaggerated illustration for our purpose, but it's easy to see. When the bone is out of place, when it's not in the right position, it causes stress on muscles that we don't see in this image. It causes stress on nerve tissues, which we can see, and it causes abnormal motion. And abnormal motion is recorded into the muscle and sent from the muscle into the brain, and the brain then has to make adaptations. And all of these abnormal motions, abnormal signals, these abnormal adaptations cause us to not function at our optimal level. Imagine if you were trying to throw a baseball with one of your joints in your arm or your finger or your wrist was not fully movable and fully strong. You couldn't throw it as fast, you couldn't control it or anything like this. And imagine that in a global situation in your body, your spine not able to move as fast or move as flexible, not able to respond as it's supposed to. This is going to decrease your ability to function at optimal level. And quite frankly, it's evidence of an injury, whether or not you're feeling pain from it. You can have a misalignment that is not giving you pain yet, but it's causing restricted motion and weakened muscles and small muscle spasms that you are not equating in your mind with an injury like a sprained ankle or a broken leg or something like this. These small subtle injuries are adversely affecting our performance. So anyway, we call these alterations of tissue, as I said, subluxation. So what do chiropractic doctors do? We detect and we correct these subluxations, these misalignments that have attending muscle imbalances with them. These misalignments, which also are causing slight pressures on the nervous system, making those nerves incapable of carrying an efficient and a message with integrity to and from the brain. So these adjustments, they restore the spine and they restore the nervous system to a better level of function, more optimal level of function. And this maximizes the body's ability to perform at a higher speed, with more strength, with more flexibility, and quicker reaction times, and better balance, and better coordination, better hand-eye coordination. And it also has the ability to aid the healing process. So the bottom line is this, that anyone who is engaged in athletics could benefit from regular chiropractic care. The idea is that if we ensure a well-balanced spine, a well-moving spine, a spine that's free of structural misalignments and subluxations, is going to serve you better in whatever your athletic endeavor is. So doctors of chiropractic basically focus on the entire structure of the spine. We aren't just interested in one segment. If a person were to come to us with back pain, we wouldn't just examine the back. We would examine the entire spine, because we know that an adverse symptom or function or a dysfunction in one part of the body can cause something else to go wrong in another part of the body. So we can tell you that as a result of this approach to healthcare, chiropractic has literally helped thousands of athletes since its beginning in 1895, basically athletes from amateurs to professionals. We're going to talk about professionals maybe a little bit later, but I can just kind of give you a few anecdotal stories. One is we had a young man many years ago who was a runner, and because of an injury, he was not able to run. He was the best runner on his team. He was a cross-country runner, and he was the best on his team, and yet he could not run a race. And after a few chiropractic examinations and adjustments, we were able to get him back out onto the course, and he was able to lead his team and be the best on his team again. And so we were taking care of this weekend warrior. But what's really interesting about this young man eventually represented the United States on the U.S. Olympic team in the biathlon. So that's kind of a fun thing to think about, having been associated with someone who achieved that level of performance. And you just have to wonder if would they have been able to do that had they not discovered the benefits of chiropractic care and helping them to get back into an optimal function. Dr. William Southmaid says this: there are many treatments and compounds and medications that claim to speed the rate of healing. I've not read a single scientific article that demonstrates that healing time can be increased artificially. Interesting. You cannot beat nature. All doctors can do is to be very careful that they do not slow down the natural healing process. It's a very interesting philosophy. we want to make sure as physicians that we don't get in the way of healing, and that we examine procedures that claim that they can speed the rate of healing. And if they're natural, there's probably a few things we can do to help nature, but nature is going to do it. We like to say that there's a doctor within you. There's a doctor that knows everything about healing your cuts and healing your aches and your sprains and breaks and dealing with your fevers. There's a doctor that knows every single thing about you, and it is always working for your best to make you the most healthy. But if you are unable to communicate properly, your brain and your body, the brain and the injured tissue, if they're not able to communicate properly, you are not going to exhibit the fastest healing necessary, and you may not get complete healing. Dan O'Brien is an Olympic athlete in the decathlon, and I believe he won a gold medal. He basically says it this way. He says, you obviously cannot compete at your fullest if you're not in alignment. Well, it makes sense. If you got a bone out of place in your foot, your ankle, your shoulder, or your back, you cannot be at your fullest. And how are you going to compete with the rest of the world's top athletes if you are somehow 1% less able or 2% less able because of improper alignment and improper nerve function? You cannot possibly, your body cannot possibly heal itself if your spine is not in alignment. So the true benefit of regular chiropractic care, though, is not just dealing with injuries and preventing injuries. It's really about optimal performance. I've got a couple of things that we can show you, but athletes have been discovering for years and years that it allows them to do better. It allows them to whatever their sporting event, they seem to feel like they do better. So here's another anecdotal story. I had a patient a number of years ago who did a lot of running. He ran almost every single day. And he would start at the edge of town and run through town, and he knew how long it took him to get from his home to the town green. And he knew how long it took him to get from the green to the next town green and make the turn at the church. And he knew how long it took him to get down to the end of this particular road, and he knew how long it took him to get back. And he literally had what we refer to as splits. And having run this route for many, many years, he basically was always within 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 or 7 seconds at the most of the same time every single day. So when he left home, he knew what time he would be back. That's kind of an interesting thing. And if he really pushed himself, he could sometimes shave off 10 or 15 seconds off the total thing when he was really pushing himself. But after a series of chiropractic adjustments in our office, he was running, and he noticed that he was ahead of schedule. He would be 5, 6, 7 seconds ahead of schedule, and then get to the next waypoint or milestone, if you will, and it'd be another 6 or 7 seconds ahead of schedule. And by the time he got back, he was several minutes ahead of his normal time without exerting any more, without noticeably exerting any more effort at running. Well, it just makes sense. If the body is able to be efficient and the muscles aren't tired, and the muscles aren't working against each other, and joints aren't stuck, that it's as if he was an automobile that was perfectly lubed and perfectly timed, he's able to perform better than the version of himself before that was running with subtle injuries, subluxations, if you will, unaware. I shared an anecdotal story with you. In Canada, they did a research project where they took 16 injured female runners. These were long distance runners. And they made chiropractic care part of their rehab program. Not only did these runners recover quicker than was anticipated, 7 of these runners actually scored their personal best performances while under chiropractic care. I'll share another similar anecdotal story. My brother is a chiropractor out in Colorado, and his daughter was on a swim team, and he became the unofficial chiropractor for the swim team. And he started adjusting these young ladies before meets. And all these girls had kind of the same story of my friend who was a runner. They had particular times, a range of times that they would fall into when they would swim. Their personal bests were always within just a fraction of a second or a couple of seconds of each other. But at one of these meets where he adjusted all these girls, more than half of these girls were able to experience their personal best by wide margins. That's an incredible thing. Just adjusting these girls might make their shoulders move easier through the water, make their head turn easier in the water, make their legs kick, or improve their endurance. So chiropractic adjustment over and over again is demonstrably gives the athlete a competitive winning edge. Another study was done, actually a couple studies were done to look at reaction time. And I like this study that I'm sharing with you because it is a study done by one of my contemporaries from when I was back in chiropractic college. They took a number of athletes who'd never been under chiropractic care before. And these athletes, they divided into two groups. One group was a control group, and they were not going to get a real chiropractic adjustment. They did what they called a sham adjustment. So they set them up, but they didn't actually deliver a force or do anything like that. And then they took the other group and they adjusted these people over a period of 6 weeks. Prior to the 6-week trial, though, they had put these athletes through a number of standardized tests. They put them through tests very similar to what we used to call the president's physical fitness skills. And what they found out was that these athletes who were getting adjusted performed a lot better following their adjustments. And one of the measures they looked at was reaction time. And in the reaction time test, the control group, after 6 weeks, they gained less than 1% improvement, which you might expect. They didn't have anything that would benefit them. They might improve a little bit because they'd learned how to do the thing, might have been able to anticipate some stuff, to retrain the nervous system a little bit, but they only had a 1% improvement. But the chiropractic group achieved reaction times that were more than 18% faster than their initial scores. That's nearly a 20% change in reaction time. Now think about this. Imagine if you were a goalie and you were defending your goal. Would it be beneficial to you as an athlete to have 20% faster reaction time so that you could stop a puck coming at you? Or if you were a baseball player and you were standing in the batter's box, would it be beneficial for you to be able to react when a ball is coming at you at nearly 100 miles an hour? Would it be beneficial for you, not only for your safety to be able to get out of the ball by having nearly 20% increased reaction time, but would that give you the ability to watch the ball a little bit longer and be able to react and hit the ball a little bit more square? Or if you're an infielder, having a 20% reaction time, does that get you to more balls that are hit to your side because you're able to get started quicker? So you can imagine in any endeavor, at any athletic endeavor, that having a quick reaction time is a competitive edge. Another study along those same lines done by the New Zealand Chiropractic College and the University of Auckland basically tested two groups as well. In one group, again, received spinal adjustments, or we call chiropractic care, and the other control group received just a short rest period. What they found out was after exertion that the rest-only group, when they got their rest, they were able to get back 58 milliseconds or 8% faster reaction time after their rest period. But that the chiropractic adjustment group showed a decrease in their reaction time of 97 milliseconds, representing a 14.8% faster reaction time. So I've made the point already, reaction time is everything in sports. And so if all these athletes are equally gifted with equal skills and same height and weight, if you could just match them up, one team was a clone of the other, and yet one of them had a 14% or nearly 15% faster reaction time when the ball is thrown into play, which team is likely to win? The team with the best reaction time. So I have some quotes here of some of the top athletes in the recent past. Evander Holyfield, a world champion, he basically says that the majority of boxers go to chiropractors to get that extra edge. and he finds that he gets an adjustment before he goes into the ring. He goes 2 to 3 times a week. Dan O'Brien says chiropractic is essential for running. If I could put a percentage value on it, he says that I compete 8 to 10% better from regular chiropractic. So if he's running, he's more smooth in his motion. His motion is more efficient. He's having the same benefit of my friend that I was telling you about before. Emmett Smith, also a runner. He gets paid to run fast and quick and with lots of balance running through holes, or at least back in the day. He's another Hall of Famer. He says, I definitely try to get on a basis where I use chiropractic at least twice a week. I would say definitely that it helps me to perform at a higher level. And Tiger Woods, probably one of the best golfers of all time, if not our time, says, I've been going to a chiropractor for as long as I can remember. It's as important to my training as the practice of my swing. I actually remember when Tiger was still a young boy in 1995, when chiropractic was celebrating their 100 years of being established as a profession. The chiropractic profession sponsored a float in the Rose Bowl parade, and Tiger Woods was our celebrity athlete as a young boy who was going to make a mark on the thing. Chiropractors had noticed his importance to the sort of the celebrity endorsement, if you will, of chiropractic very early on. So we had him probably endorsing chiropractic before he had the big Nike contracts. Side note in history. Another Olympic gold medalist, Derek Parra, he says he's always been a proponent of chiropractic care, and he acknowledges the problem doesn't get fixed until I go to a doctor of chiropractic. And Arnold, think about him. He's been using chiropractic for a long time. When he was working to become Mr. Universe, one of his workout partners was a chiropractor. And these two guys really kind of changed the bodybuilding, the professional bodybuilding. They gave it status. And so as a longtime chiropractic patient, Arnold Schwarzenegger annually attends the International Chiropractic Association Conference in Ohio, and he is often a keynote speaker there. So it's a fun relationship that chiropractic has had with Arnold Schwarzenegger from a long time ago. So here's an interesting thing. Think about this. According to Roger Sperry, a PhD, he says better than 90% of the energy output of the brain is used in relating the physical body and its gravitational field. The more mechanically distorted a person is, the less energy available for thinking, metabolism, and let me hide this for you, and healing. So what he's saying, if you think of this skater, his body and the gravitational field, running around a very fast rink in this type of skating, there's energy forces, centrifugal force, which is throwing the body to the outside. He's having to lean far inside, and the body is feeling this and responding to this, and he's working against physics, or sometimes working with physics. But the gravitational field, the forces on this person's body are being run through our brain, and he is cataloging that information, processing that information, adapting it to his best performance. And yet, if he is subluxated, if he's out of alignment, his nervous system isn't performing at an optimal level, there's less energy available that can be devoted to his running the race and thinking what he's supposed to do. There's less energy available for him to heal. So it's a very interesting concept about how we can improve our performance. And then golfers have been using chiropractic for a long time. It doesn't seem like a hard athletic sport, really. We already mentioned Tiger Woods, but golfers have been using it for a long time. I had a man who covered my office a long time ago. His name was Dr. Ron Woods. And when I would go on vacation, he would come and he would stay at my house, and he would see patients. And when he and I got a chance to visit and talk, I found out that he was Jack Nicklaus chiropractor, and that there were certain tournaments that were played near Dr. Ron Wood's home, and Jack Nicklaus would actually stay at Dr. Wood's house. So, no less a legend than Jack Nicklaus has been using chiropractic healthcare for many, many years. And so it's a really interesting thing. They use it to prevent injury and make them keep themselves more flexible. But research now shows that chiropractic can improve your golf game. It can improve your balance, improve your swing, and how far you can hit the ball and how straight you can hit the ball. So if you want to have a competitive edge in chiropractic or a competitive edge in golf, you want to consider chiropractic as one of those secret weapons that you would deploy against your friends before you go into match play. And of course, our kids. It's estimated that 30 million children participate in organized sports. And as participation increases, injuries are going to increase. So sports injuries are going to be a big, big, big thing. And it's how basically what we know is sports injuries now to young people now exceed the occurrence of infectious diseases. How crazy is that? Growing up when I did, infectious diseases were the big thing. Now, kids are being treated for sports injuries more often than infections. It's a testament to how we've been able to put infections aside and on the one hand, the wonder of our science being able to identify antibiotics to get rid of them, and science understanding improved hygiene in our daily lives. But we're going to see more and more children under chiropractic care as a result of this. And obviously, it's a tremendous benefit for these kids in preventing injuries and maximizing performance. So if you've got a little future Tiger Woods or you've got a future Tom Brady, you may want to consider having them under chiropractic care to help them get that competitive winning advantage. So recall that chiropractic's focus is on the spine and the nervous system. It's also important for our children who are growing up. We want them as they grow. There's kind of a saying: as the twig is bent, so grows a tree. So let's don't wait until our kids have developed bad posture from texting and all the computer games and the video games. Let's don't wait until that period of time when we have to undo curves that have been developed from poor postures. Let's start early. Let's help them get good health from the very beginning, and let's maximize their performance from the very beginning so that they get the most out of their education and out of all their sporting experiences. William Hazeltine, chairman of the Human Genome Science Project, says this: healthcare is going to change from treatment-based to prevention-based discipline. Treatment-based, that is waiting until we get sick, going and getting a diagnosis, and then getting a treatment plan, whether that's physical therapy or drugs or surgery. But we are going to move in a direction, and chiropractic has been there for a long time. We're going to move from a direction where we are responsive to sickness, and we're going to be proactive in health. And that's just a fabulous thing to consider. So I've compiled for you kind of a short list. This is a very short list of some of the famous athletes and some others who use chiropractic care to help them improve their performance and prevent injuries. And I won't read them all there, and I've mentioned some of them like Jack Nicklaus, but look at, there's Babe Ruth on the list, and Martina Navratilova, and Bart Starr, and John Stockton, NBA player, Lance Armstrong, fastest man in the world, Usain Bolt, Charles Barkley. The Olympic team has a chiropractor assigned, or several chiropractors assigned to them every single year. Joe Montana and Roger Craig of the practical San Francisco 49ers dynasty back then. Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk, Yvonne Lendl, another tennis player, and then more. Chiropractors treat rodeo cowboys and MMA fighters and firefighters and policemen and NASCAR drivers and In my practice, I've treated special forces soldiers and Secret Service officers, and astronauts are under chiropractic care, and X-Game competitors. And I treat a number of people who participate in Spartan games, and members of Congress are under care, and on and on and on. Presidents are under care. And on the far hand side there, you can see this is a very short list of musicians that use chiropractic care. I have a friend who practices in Boston, and he's basically on call for a couple of the theaters, and he goes to adjust the headliners that show up there, week in and week out. He's there adjusting top performers in their field of music or whatever, and actors, and on and on again. A short list as well. So anyway, I want to thank you for spending the time with us and getting a kind of peek into why chiropractic might be good for you, why it might be good for your family, whether you're a golfer or whether your kids are playing sports, or whether they're wrestlers or football players, basketball players, baseball players. I want to encourage you, if you want to know more about this, I want to encourage you to give us a call, go online to fosterandwellness.net and request an appointment, or call us. I should have put the number up there. Call us at 802-247-6464. 802-247-6464. That's the Brandon number. And 802-773-8306. That's the Rutland number. And give us a call, and we will be happy to talk to you. Thank you very much for paying attention. And if you'd like to get more information, give us a call. Thank you. And I forgot to give you the Randolph number. That's 802-728-5159. And over there, serving on our behalf, we have Dr. Sean McDermott and Dr. Taryn Mason. All right. We look forward to seeing you soon.